What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Huge Sports Talk. And yep, it's another week has gone by, which means we're going over the results of everything this week. And we're going to start off with the NFL playoff picture. And the NFL, this currently, right now, some of the Week 13 games have happened, but we're going to check the standings as of Week 12 of 18. So let's get over with the seeds. Number 1, who do we have? The Tennessee Titans. What's up, Extreme Boys TV? Welcome to the stream. The Tennessee Titans somehow became crazy of a team all of a sudden, and surprisingly, they're number 1 with 3 losses. Usually at this point, it would be 1 or 2 who's number 1. Next down the list is the Baltimore Ravens, who are 7-3. They played 1 game less than the Titans. They've been dominant all season except for the last 2 weeks. Their offense barely won last game, so hopefully they can pull it together and win it the next game, because that's my team. Who's third? The Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have been dominant, but not as strong as they were. As you can see, the Buffalo Bills are 7-4 with 11 games played, which means they have not yet had their bye week. Moving on, who's number 4? Kansas City Chiefs are back in the playoff mix again. So maybe that Super Bowl curse is starting to wear off, where the losing team of the Super Bowl would not make the playoffs. That's happened before with the Rams, and that's happened before with the 49ers. Let's see if that will continue to happen again. That might not continue to happen this year with the Chiefs in first now in the AFC West. Who is number 5? New England Patriots. Mac Jones has, joined the Patriots a couple years ago. Well, not a couple years ago, maybe this season. And now all of a sudden, they're in playoff range again. Not my kind of football team. It's because of the cheating scandal that happened. It's not as big as the Astros or the Axemen's cheating scandals were, but they deflated the football. That I don't like cheaters. I'm sorry. But they're looking like they can make it in. Who's number 6? Mid-Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone likes to call them Mid-Cincinnati nowadays for some reason. They're probably not Mid-Cincinnati much longer because, of course, the Bengals made the playoffs, and the Cincinnati Royals also are in the second round of the playoffs for the XAFL as of right now as well. Which means Cincinnati is probably going to return to its Cincinnati name rather than Mid-Cincinnati. All right. Who is the seventh and final one in playoff range? The Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are back in the playoff range like they were in the beginning of the season. However, they have a 30% chance to miss the playoffs. So that's about a 3 out of 10 chance. Moving down to number 8. This is not in the playoff range. The Raiders. The Raiders were in playoff range. Now they're not. Wonder what happened to that. I guess they choked throughout the season, and now they are 8th. 9th. Indianapolis Colts. This team has not been that good. They were the worst team in the playoffs last season, and they are still pretty bad now, and now they don't even look like they're going to make the playoffs. As right now they're going backwards rather than forwards. Number 10, Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns were a good team with Baker Mayfield, but now all of a days they've lost 5 games and won only 6. Chances of missing the playoffs, 71%. Moving down, number 11, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers mayhem has stopped working for them. They were pretty decent for a couple of years. They've made the playoffs for several years, but now it looks like they're not going to make it this year, as they are 5-4-1 and ended up tying with the Lions somehow. I mean, how do you tie with the worst team in the league? All right, moving down the list. Number 12, Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos were in playoff range at the beginning of the season, and now they're back to where they were last season. Still hoping to get anywhere. Like, what the Broncos need to do is actually draft people that actually will contribute and help the team win games. So they're currently 5-5, but as of right now, they're beating the Chargers, as if you just saw that notification. So maybe the Raiders will get back into playoff range, and the Chargers could get knocked out again. All right, moving down the list again. Number 13, Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins were good last year. They were crap in the first half of this year, and now all of a sudden they're winning games again. As I think they just won today. I think they beat the Panthers, actually. Which should be an embarrassment, because the Dolphins were pretty terrible this season, and now all of a sudden they're winning games again, like I said. Number 14, Houston Texans. This team is dying. That needs serious help. This team has not been getting anywhere for years. Like, they might need new coaching staff. I don't know what they need, but they really need this. Just start stepping up their game, or they're just going to be a failing franchise. Kind of like the Coyotes are about to be as well. But we'll talk about that later. Number 15, Jacksonville Jaguars. Another team that is failing. It's still not has gotten anything. The Jaguars probably need new coaching staff as well, because they have not gotten anywhere in a long time. They drafted a quarterback this year named Trevor Lawrence, and now it looks like they probably might not make it that far until they actually get more players on the other ends. And number 16, the New York Jets are dead last in the conference again for probably another year in a row. And as you can see, no one in this conference is eliminated from playoff contention yet. Which means any of you can still make the playoffs. But for the teams like the Jets, you probably would have to win on out if you want to make the playoffs. As the best they and hope that the other teams lose, because the farthest you 2 and 8 teams can get is to 7 and 8. Actually, no, it's not 7 and 8. The farthest they would get is 9 and 8. They could still get a winning record, but they would have to. But if they lose one more game, then they will clinch a losing record. Because if you have 9 losses, you clinch a losing record. There's no tie record in this season because there's an odd number of games per team. Getting a losing record probably would, give you a high chance to miss the playoffs. Because there are teams with winning records that don't make the playoffs. And then we move to the National Football Conference playoff picture. Let's review. Who is number 1? Still the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have been dominant all season. There's even been players in Dev's server that switched to become a Cardinals fan over a bandwagon. Sometimes this never works, and sometimes they end up losing in the playoffs. Last year, they almost made the playoffs, but missed it. Now this team is like one of the more dominant teams in the league. They actually are in first in the entire league right now. So it's the first time Arizona's been first in anything. All right, number 2. Let me guess, the Packers. Yep, I was right. The Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers were dominant for years, and they are still dominant now. And they are looking like they're going to make the playoffs again. However, I don't know why not Tom Brady. However, if Aaron Rodgers and the Packers staff keep feuding, then that might change. And they could end up dropping quickly. As I believe the Packers did draft a first-round quarterback, but I think the only reason they did that is in case if Aaron Rodgers leaves. Number 3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The team that's only dominant because Tom Brady moved to the team about 2 seasons ago. About a season ago, Tom Brady joined the team. On the very first season as he played on that team, they win the Super Bowl. But I don't know why, because the Chiefs only scored like 3 points in that Super Bowl. It was about the worst Super Bowl ever. and hopefully we'll have a good Super Bowl this year. Number 4, Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys went from being one of the crappiest teams in the league to being one of the best in the NFC. They're currently a division champ in the NFC East and is looking to win it sometime soon. Number 5, Los Angeles Rams. The Rams, well, they weren't too dominant in the playoffs as they lost in the second round, I think. But at least they beat the only reason that people think they were kind of good last season is because they beat the Seahawks. But the Seahawks, again, isn't a good team. They're just not. You guys know this for sure if you're a Seahawks fan. But they were just choking. They choked against the Rams, and the Rams are now 5th on this list. Number 6, Minnesota Vikings, the team that didn't make the playoffs last year and now is, well, back to its playoff ways. Will it lose in the playoffs again? Probably, because they always do. Especially at their chances against the Rams, Cowboys, Buccaneers, Packers, Cardinals, and a 5-5 record. I don't know. I don't think they might win the entire thing. Number 7, San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers were, well, pretty good 2 years ago when they had all their players. Last year, they didn't have most of those players because they were trampled with injuries the entire season. And now they are 5-5 as well, which is still a tie record. They're 4 wins away from getting a winning record. The Cardinals already clinched a winning record. So yeah, that's that. Number 8, not in playoff range. The Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, well, they were also part of the baby division last season. The reason why I call it that is because every team in that division sucked. The only reason why we had a losing team make the playoffs is because one has to come out of every division either way, and that ended up being the Washington football team. Philadelphia Eagles were the worst in the baby division last season, and now they are, well, improved. So did the Dallas Cowboys, as they are in 4th seed in the playoff range right now. Moving on to number 9, Carolina Panthers. Carolina was dominant in the beginning, and now they're trash. What has happened? They were 3-0, and now they're 5-6. I guess they love choking every season, as they just don't know what the heck they're doing. Even with their own quarterback that they had 4 years, Cam Newton, is back on the team, and they're still not doing good. Number 10, New Orleans Saints. Ever since Drew Brees retired, the Saints, well, they were pretty good at the start, but now they came trampling down. And, well, their chances to make the playoffs are slim-ish. It's not too much of a chance, but it's less than half. Number 11, Washington football team. The best of the baby division of last year. And now they are, well, not making the playoffs, are they? Number 11, Atlanta Falcons, the team that is not a team that almost won the Super Bowl but choked in the second half, is now, well, still out of playoff contention. It's been that way for a long time, and now they really need to think about strategy, because losing to the Patriots like that after a huge lead is embarrassing. Number 12, the Chicago Bears. Actually, I'm sorry. This is number 13, the Chicago Bears. The Bears, well, even with their new quarterback, they are still, well, they were in the playoffs last season, and now they are probably looking to rebuild. Number 14, New York Giants. The New York Giants were the I believe the third best team in the division. And had a shot to make the playoffs, but they were shut down by the Washington football team, as really it was all about division rivals that season, because they were all bad teams. And moving down to number 15, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks is playoff no more, as they are now, well, one of the worst teams in the conference. The Seahawks, even with Russell Wilson, is now struggling. They need desperate help. And it doesn't help that their record is 3-7 either. And then, not last at least, 16th place, the Lions. And is the first team that cannot possibly get first, second, third, fourth, or fifth seed. As you can see by those X's, that's what that means. The farthest they can get is 6th seed. And if they lose one more, probably, they might get eliminated. And it'll be the first team from the NFL to be eliminated from playoff contention. They can fix that by getting a win, and hope that the Seattle Seahawks would be the first ones out. But the hopes for the Lions making the playoffs seem dead. Their team just doesn't know how to play football. They don't want to play football. They always make poor decisions as well. And their kicker is trash as well. As during the Ravens game, he's missed at least 2 kicks in a single game. And for the NFL, that's it for the NFL portion of it. Now let's look at the overall scores for the current past week. Or let's just look at this week. So today we have there's the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. Live right now is Chargers at the Broncos, the Rams at the Packers, the Vikings at the 49ers. Upcoming is Seattle versus the Washington football team. Might be an entertaining game because they're both trash teams. Completed games. Yep, there it is right there. Lions lose. Lions are the first team eliminated out of the playoffs. Y'all got some real thinking to do, Lions fans, as your team is out. There's 31 teams left. only 14 can make the playoffs. The rest of you have to decide amongst yourselves if you want to get in or not. The Raiders did beat the Cowboys in a crazy game, so that should put them in the playoff range. Bills beat the Saints. Someone said the Bills would lose to the Saints. I don't know who that was. The Bengals beat the Steelers brutally. The Buccaneers beat the Colts. Somehow the Dolphins beat the Panthers, like I mentioned earlier. The Patriots beat the Titans, which means, well, the Titans' wrath is ending. The Giants beat the Eagles. And, of course, the Falcons beat the Jaguars. And somehow the worst team in the AFC beat the Houston Texans. Well, probably because the Houston Texans are trash as well. Moving on, let's talk about college football. College football national rankings. Number 1, Georgia. I'm going to turn the screen now. Number 1 is Georgia, and Georgia is, well, one of the best teams in Ncaa right now. What's up, Golden? As Georgia's been dominant all season. They're from the SEC. Their record is 11-0. Number 2, Cincinnati. Cincinnati University is, well, one of the few teams from conferences that we've never heard of, like the AM Athletic or American Athletic. They have one game left. They're currently 12-0. They win once more, they might just clinch the playoffs. Moving down. Actually, give me a second. What server is this? Huge Wars. I didn't know these guys joined just now. He's a co-leader. I believe he's a member. Give me a second, I gotta fix some things. I'm not a co-leader anymore. I got demoted. Alright, we're back. NCAA football week 13 of 13 is here. Ohio State. It's got 2 games left. And then Alabama is number 4. As I believe Ohio State lost to Michigan, so I think Ohio State might be eliminated. Now let's talk about the playoff chances.
I don't want to go to school tomorrow. Whoa.
As you can see, only some teams are left. Like Wisconsin, Oregon, Oklahoma, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, and Michigan, who are not yet in the playoffs, but can still technically make the playoffs. As I don't know how they predicted this, but that's guess how that works now. I turned the light on. It's getting dark in here now. And then you got the rest of the nominees from across the globe. Dead last is Florida International. Is that what that says? Or the Golden Panthers. They might become independent because of that. Because terrible teams tend to get kicked out of their conferences. Which is exactly what happened to UConn. NCAA football this week, for not this conference, but the top 25. This game right here, 4 overtimes to decide that one. That's like twice of a normal football game, for frick's sake. So yeah, those are the scores for that. And that's it for American football, other than CFL and XFL. The only really news is of the XFL is that there's a new CEO. And for the CFL, the Hamilton Tigers beat the Montreal, what is the name? Hamilton is going to advance to the conference final. Montreal, I think, is eliminated. And then you got Calgary versus Saskatchewan. So, yeah. Right now, Calgary is winning against one of the best football teams in Canada. Why does it keep pulling up random crap whenever I leave? And we're going to move on to Major League Soccer postseason. Let's look at the brackets, shall we? Here's the MLS Playoff Bracket. This is the Eastern Conference right here. As the eliminated teams from the playoffs so far is Atlanta United, Orlando City Soccer Club, and the New York Red Bulls. As all the 4 teams that are left in the Eastern Conference is the New England Revolution, who will then play the New York City Football Club. And then you have Nashville Soccer Club playing against the Philadelphia Union. In the Western Conference, an upset has happened. Look at this. Colorado is out against the Portland Timbers. That's not the only upset that's happened. Salt Lake has also beaten Seattle. But that was mainly because of a shootout that took place there because the game lasted too long. So that's why Real Salt Lake moves and will play Sporting Kansas City. I did not mean to open that. Why did it open that? So the Portland Timbers will be playing in the Western Conference Final against either Sporting Kansas City or Real Salt Lake. And I think that should be today. Why didn't that take place? I'm going to go look because that's important to check. Let's check. Okay, so Kansas City and Real Salt Lake look like they're going to go to overtime. So we're not going to find a winner yet. So, yeah, that's what the playoffs looks like in the MLS. In the NBA, we have in the Eastern Conference, let's see, who are the best teams in the league right now? Eastern Conference. Number 1, Brooklyn Nets. What do you know? The team that lost in, I believe, the second or first round of I think it was the second round of the playoffs. These guys were dominant last season too. But now they're number 1 as they are now above the Philadelphia 76ers, who were number 1 last year. Number 2, Miami Heat. The Miami Heat decided they wanted to play like awesomeness, so they are now number 2. Number 3, Washington Wizards, aka my team. The Wizards, with Bradley Beal, even without Russell Westbrook, they still managed to pull off some wins. As they are now 3rd in their conference. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Number 4, Chicago Bulls, the team that missed the playoffs last season. Is now back in it. Again as number 4. Oh, yeah, they are doing a play-in tournament again. So, 8th, 9th, 10th, and... No, it's 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th that will participate in that. Moving down, number 5, Carolina Hornets, or no, Charlotte Hornets. They call them the Charlotte Hornets, which makes more sense because that's the name of the city. Number 6, Milwaukee Bucks. The playoff team from last season is back in the playoff race. Or aka the champs of last season. They're back in their races to try to win it again. Number 7, New York Knicks. And number 8, Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, well, they decided they were going to shrink and play worse like they did play worse than they did last season. Number 9, Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the teams that missed the playoffs entirely last season as well, is now looking to take part in the play-in tournament along with the Knicks and the Hawks. And then in number 10, Number 10 is the Boston Celtics. What are they asking me to do? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go do that too. That's what they want. That's what they wanted me to do. No, I don't want to do that. But there. All right, moving down. I think you saw more of them. Number 11, the Philadelphia 76ers. What happened is my first question, because they were number 1 in the conference last season. Now they're number 11. They went down 10 spots and now is not even into the playoff range. Moving down, number 12, Toronto Raptors. Still not as good as they were a couple years ago. Now they are number 12. Number 13, Indiana Pacers. They were in the play-in tournament, and now they went even worse. Number 14, Detroit Pistons. And more like Detroit P, because they're freaking never getting anywhere. They're currently in rebuilding. So maybe they need to get some players that will actually help them win. Number 15, and the worst team in the Eastern Conference of the National Basketball Association is the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic has never been successful. They've been losing for years, and this franchise is failing. Oh snap, that's a goal. Real Salt Lake is going to advance to the third round. I was talking about that earlier. Real Salt Lake is going to the Western Conference Finals in the MLS. And pulled off a second straight upset. 7th seed in the Western Finals. What a weird season it is in the Western Conference. They pulled off a stoppage time goal to advance to the third round of the playoffs. They avoided the whole overtime as well. As even if someone scores during overtime, the game's not over until the overtime period is done, which is about 120 minutes of total time, including normal time. So it would be like about an extra 30 minutes if game is still tied then, they would then go to a shootout, which is what happened with Seattle. But now it looks like the Utah soccer team is going to the Western Conference Finals. All right, let's look at the Western Conference playoff picture for the NBA. Number 1, Golden State Warriors. The City of Gold is now once gold again. They have decided the Warriors were going to fight like they've never fought before, and they're going to be dominant like they were a couple years ago when they won the NBA Finals. And now the Warriors are back and ready for some more action. Number 2, Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns kind of were an embarrassment in the final round of the playoffs. They won the first 2 games and then lost the next 4. Which is the whole reason the Bucks won the playoffs in the first place, because, well, whatever Phoenix did in the first 2 games, they didn't do in the last 4 games they played. But they have another chance, because they are number 2 in this conference. Yep, there it is. Match completed. That's the final whistle for Real Salt Lake. They are going to the 3rd round. You guys are like the underdogs if you're a Salt Lake fan, and you just freaking blew everyone's minds. Number 3 in the West. Not you. Utah Jazz, the MVP in this conference last season. Now they are 3rd, and somehow they lost in the 2nd round of the playoffs, and it's like every year they win a lot in the regular season and then lose in the playoffs. Number 4, Los Angeles Clippers. This team made it to the I believe the Western Conference Finals against the Phoenix Suns, and then lost to them. So they were a pretty good team last year. Number 5, Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks, they were decent last season, and then they're kind of decent now. They're 5th place. And moving down, number 6, Portland Trail Blazers. They made the playoffs last season as well, but they lost in the first round of the playoffs, so I don't know what to tell them. Number 7, the Minnesota Timberwolves. The last team I would ever think was going to make the playoffs this season after literally getting eliminated from playoff contention last season is probably going to play in the play-in tournament. How about that, people of Minnesota? Now you got the Vikings. You got the Vikings probably going to make the playoffs. You have the Wild. You got the Timberwolves. You had the Minnesota soccer team, but they got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. All right, moving down to number 8. Los Angeles Lakers. I believe these guys took part in this is most people's favorite team because of LeBron James Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, as they were all legends of this team. Peace to Kobe Bryant, by the way. The Lakers, well, now they're not as good as they used to be. They should still be a top-class team if it wasn't for Kobe's death. But because of the unfortunate, now they are now suffering because of some storm that took place. If I were that pilot, I wouldn't have flown in the fricking smoke. Like, isn't it normal? Isn't it a requirement to not fly in a freaking smoggy area? Number 9, Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis was last year, and they're still now. Number 10, Denver Nuggets. The team that made a lot of appearances in the playoffs is now going to probably suffer. They're in 10th now. They're borderline about to get kicked out of the play-in tournament contention. All right, number 11, first team to not be in playoff contention is the Los Angeles... Oh, wait, nope. This isn't the NHL. This is the NBA. Sacramento Kings. Why does Sacramento have a basketball team? I don't know. The city is the least popular sports city that I've ever heard of other than both San Antonio, Austin, and Sacramento all confuse me why they have major league sports teams. Austin just got their team this year for soccer. Sacramento Kings probably should move to another area. Maybe to Montreal or Vancouver. Give or Seattle, or wherever needs to be a team. Seattle needs a team the most, but they might get one when an expansion happens. But I'm pretty sure Vancouver would want their team back into the mix as well. However, the Sacramento Kings, when it comes to performance right now, is trash. They were trash last season as well. So they have a lot of work to do if they want to make the playoffs. Number 12, Oklahoma City Thunder. The only team that Oklahoma City has in Major League Sports is the Thunder. And they're not good. They never win. For some reason, they just never win. I would just focus on rebuilding your team right now. Number 13, San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are, well, not working. They were working last season. Now they're not working. And they also need to work on their team as well. Number 14, New Orleans Pelicans. Ever since this team came into existence, they haven't done much at all. And they still haven't done much at all as well. And the worst team in the NBA Eastern Conference, NBA Western Conference, and probably still the worst NBA team in the league, the Houston Rockets. What has happened to this team? They're still bad. It's been a whole season, and they still haven't gotten any good players. When will they win the draft lottery? Nobody knows. As the Rockets have some work to do as well. All right, let's get to the NBA right now. As you can see, the current games that are live. We'll start with a week ago. As nothing out of the ordinary other than really not much. The following day, we lose to the Hornets, not a team I want to lose to. Tuesday, you got these games. Nothing out of the ordinary here either. But right here, somehow we lost to the Pelicans. That should be an embarrassment, and it should never happen again.
Guys, you're like 2 hours off from dinner.
And then you had the Bulls. What's more embarrassing is the Bulls lost to the freaking Rockets. The Rockets. Come on, man. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to be able to at least beat the Rockets. They're the worst in the entire league.
Maverick, it's not dinner time yet.
And moving down. Another out of the ordinary thing. Trailblazers lose to the Kings. Where have you been? Moving down to the 25th. Nothing. There's no basketball on Thanksgiving. 26th. Anything out of the ordinary? The answer is yes. The Kings and the Lakers. Lakers lost to the Kings. You guys are supposed to be legends. What happened to that? Not to mention, the Utah Jazz also took an embarrassment loss to the Pelicans. What the heck? This whole season is kind of weird. You got dum-dums who can't play basketball win games against teams that usually know how to play basketball and win games.
Yeah.
Moving down to yesterday.
Huh?
Guess how I know.
How?
Here's something else out of the ordinary. Look at this. The Hornets lost to the worst NBA team in the league right now. The Rockets. I don't know what's gotten into these, I don't know. What I think is these teams are downplaying the other teams and they're just losing because of it. But don't get me wrong, that's a close game. For those of you who lose to a non-close game, that's unacceptable. If you're losing to the Rockets like that. And then
I put the tinfoil away.
How about the brace jar, close the lid, put the aluminum foil away?
And today we have, well, what's live, there's only 5 games today. What's live is Golden State Warriors at the Los Angeles Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks at the Indianapolis Pacers. Or the Indiana Pacers. And then upcoming is the Boston Celtics taking on the Toronto Raptors, Sacramento Kings taking on the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Detroit Pistons taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Men's basketball's coming up too, and they are winning strong. We're going to check the standings as well. Look at Gonzaga, number 1. Also, the top 64 on here is actually going to, I think, make the play. I think it's the top 16 from each of the 4 parts of the United States: North, South, East, and West. I think that's how the playoffs work. But if you're in the top 25, your chances of making the playoffs are, well, very, very high. Unless if the top 16 in the entire country are all from the same region, like, say, the top 16's East, and then you have another team that's down here is East as well. They probably wouldn't make it because of that. And in women's basketball, same scenario, except this time it's South Carolina who's number 1. My team is number 2, so that's good news for me. And the women's NBA season doesn't start until later. They still have to do their draft soon next year. Let's move to the next league. Now we're going to talk about hockey. The one thing that, well, body slams more people, trips more people, and causes fights more often in any league is this league. As you see it all the time. As it's one of the, I believe it's the most dangerous sport in most of the world. Because people like to fight each other. You get people who get cut by the blades. You get collisions into a wall. It's just an all kinds of thing. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. So in the Eastern Conference, the top 3 Metropolitan Division winners, the top 3 Atlantic Division winners, and the 2 wildcard teams will make the playoffs. And the other 9 teams in the conference, and the other 8 teams in the conference will miss the playoffs. Let's start. Number 1, Carolina Hurricanes. They've been dominant for the past couple of weeks, except today. They lost to the Capitals, but that was a good game for them because the Capitals are very strong and they don't want to be messed with. Number 2, speaking of which, the Washington Capitals are number 2, aka my team. The Washington Capitals could overtake number 1 soon because now the Hurricanes lost to the Capitals as the Capitals beat them, like I said a couple of seconds ago. Number 3, the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers missed the playoffs last season. Well, that's probably because last season it wasn't entirely fair because it was intra-divisional play. Even though the UAFL is doing the same format as well because there's just no other way to do it because there's 64 teams and I had to figure out how I was going to do the season. Which we will talk about the UAFL later. Number 4, Florida Panthers actually have a lower record than the Hurricanes right now. The Florida Panthers were supposed to be league leaders of right now, and the league leader of this game, of the entire league, will win the President's Award, which last year went to the Colorado Avalanche. But then they lost to the Las Vegas Golden Knights in the second round of the playoffs. Number 5, Toronto Maple Leafs. a team that lost in the first round of the playoffs against the Montreal Canadiens is, well, back in the playoff mixes again. Number 6, Tampa Bay Lightning. The champions, the double champions, could also become the triple champions if they stay in playoff contention and win the Stanley Cup once again. Hopefully that does not happen because I don't want the Lightning to win 3 seasons in a row. Blink says, will you cover the esports server and the UAFL server? Yes, I'm going to cover that later. Right now we're covering the main sports right now first, and then we'll talk about the Access Football Sports, Dice Football Sports, and the huge esports league that I have as well along with that. Right now, number 7, we have the St. Louis Blues. No, wrong conference. Columbus Blue Jackets. A team that had made it to last place last season in their conference, in their division because of interdivisional play, is now in the playoff range. Way to go. And then number 8, you have the Pittsburgh Penguins back in the races again. This team is struggling to get in the playoffs this season. They were dominant. They did win 3 Stanley Cups last decade, so maybe their time should come to an end. But for the team itself, they probably need to work on a better strategy because they did manage to end up losing in the first round of the playoffs against the New York Rangers, which is, well, basically an upset because they were first seed versus 4th seed. The Penguins were the first seed. Moving down to number 9, you got the Detroit Red Wings. Number 10, Boston Bruins. By the way, the Bruins made the playoffs last season. Their journey in the playoffs were they first beat the Washington Capitals. This is why I'm mad at them right now. And I'm kind of happy they're in 9th right now. Then after that, they lost to the New York Islanders, which was an upset because they had a higher seed than them. Number 11, New Jersey Devils. Number 12, Philadelphia Flyers. Number 13, Buffalo Sabres. Number 14, Montreal Canadiens. Number 15, New York Islanders, who did make the playoffs last year as well. Last season, they started their journey by beating the Pittsburgh Penguins with a huge upset. Then after that, they went on and beat the Boston Bruins in the second round. But then, however, they lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals. And now it looks like they're going to miss the playoffs. And now the worst team in the Eastern Conference in the National Hockey League goes to the Ottawa Senators. I don't know why the Ottawa Senators never win anything. I haven't seen them in the playoffs in a while either. And now they look like they need to rebuild. They only won 4 matches compared to the Hurricanes, who've won 15. Moving on to the Western Conference, number 1, Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers have been playing really well, except in the playoffs when they lost in the first round against the Winnipeg Jets. Question is, how did they lose to the Jets? Well, they simply lost 4 games, that's how. Number 2, Calgary Flames. They missed the playoffs last season, by the way, and now they're all the way in number 2 in this entire conference. They have 12 wins and 5 overtime losses, totaling 29 points. Moving down to the Anaheim Ducks, who are number 3. These guys were previously one of the worst in the Western Division. I think they did get last place in the West Division last season. And now look at them. They're number 3 in this conference. Moving on to number 4, Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild has, been pretty in the playoffs last season. They ended up losing to, I believe it was the, I think it was the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Or I think they might have competed in the Central Division, actually. So, no, it wasn't them. It had to have been a team from the Central Division. I just can't remember who they got eliminated by. Then number 5, the St. Louis Blues. I think the St. Louis Blues were in the Central Division and made the playoffs last season, but they lost in the first round, and they were the first team to get out in the playoffs in the entire season. And the opponent they lost to, I think it was the Hurricanes, if I don't remember. Which means the Minnesota Wild must have lost to the Nashville Predators. Number 6, Winnipeg Jets. Well, moving back up north to the Scotia North Division. Blink says, does G- work? I want to test that real quick because it's been a while. No, it does not. But thanks for the question. The Winnipeg Jets have, not done too well, but they're well enough to be in the playoffs. As the Winnipeg Jets did do quite decent in the playoffs. They won the first round against the Edmonton Oilers. But then in the second round, they lost to the Montreal Canadiens in what I like to call the Scotia North Finals. Number 7, Las Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights are basically never been a bad team because ever since they started their first season they ever played, they made it to the Stanley Cup in 2018. But only thing that stopped them from winning it all is the Washington Capitals, as they were the ones who defeated the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and they ended up, instead of the Golden Knights winning their first Stanley Cup in 1 year, it ended up being the Washington Capitals winning their first Stanley Cup. Number 8, Colorado Avalanche. The MVP team of last season is now, trying to stay in the playoff race. As they are probably not doing as well as they used to. Number 9, Nashville Predators. I believe these guys lost to the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round. Number 10 is the Dallas Stars. They never made the playoffs last season either. Number 11, San Jose Sharks. They didn't make the playoffs last season. Number 12, now I can say it, Los Angeles Kings. The Los Angeles Kings, I don't think made the playoffs last season either. They did win 2 Stanley Cups last decade, though. Number 13, Chicago Blackhawks. They are currently in rebuild as well, but they did win 3 Stanley Cups in the last decade, so maybe they already got what they needed. Number 14, Seattle Kraken. The Kraken is, again, not as lucky as the Golden Knights were when they first became a team. The Kraken were hoping to be a playoff team, just like the Golden Knights, but that didn't happen. Well, it's not happening right now, and it looks like they're close to elimination. 82% of its health is gone. They only have about 18 HP left before they get the Big E. But the Big E is probably not going to come until next year because the season lasts until, I believe, June or May. And once the hockey season ends, we would be right now in like the semi-beginning of the MLS season for the next year. Not to mention, there's a new MLS team in town, the St. Louis soccer team, whatever the prefix they want to use. Number 15, the Vancouver Canucks. They didn't make the playoffs either. And the worst team in the Western Conference in the entire league of hockey goes to the Arizona Coyotes again. The Arizona Coyotes have never been good. They've always been losing, and everyone knows that this franchise is failing. They already are they're getting evicted out of the stadium after this season and have to play in a different stadium. All right, that's it for hockey. Now let's check out the games for today and all that. What's interesting? Capitals lose to the Kraken. Here's another interesting story. Who lost to the Coyotes? Let's see. Let's look at interesting things that happened. Blink says the Huge War server is growing. That's good. So it looks like Winnipeg lost to the Penguins. And the Hurricanes somehow found a way to lose against the San Jose Sharks. Maybe the Hurricanes' wrath is probably dying. Number 23. The Oilers looks like... It looks like the Oilers are somehow managed to lose to the Dallas Stars. What's another interesting thing that I can look at? Well, for one, Detroit beat St. Louis. And another, the Kraken beat the Hurricanes. Why is the Hurricanes losing so much nowadays? Didn't they lose I think they lost the 3 straight games. And there was no games on Thanksgiving on that day either. Look at that. The Blues somehow lost to the Blackhawks. Okay, Hurricanes did win once against the Flyers. Here's another interesting thing. Dallas Stars lose to the win against the Colorado Avalanche. Yesterday, the Kraken's beaten the frick out of the Panthers.
I'm coming, Lulu. I find it ironic that I'm painting Maverick and I can hear him wooing. Don't tell Jen that, 'cause it's for her Christmas.
What else is next? It looks like there's nothing else interesting. And then we look at today. I'm happy we beat the Hurricanes because they were supposed to be the best in the entire league, or not league, the entire conference or division. And then you got these games coming up. Look at this! First postponed game I've seen yet this season. Why was this game postponed? I want to know why. I want to see the news. Let me guess. COVID. Because as you can see right here, Casey Zika tests positive for COVID-19. He's going to be out. What about the Rangers? It looks like it's on the Islanders' end for the reason of the postponement. Yeah, I did. I guess I did grow in the that server. All right, moving down. Oh, and speaking of COVID, there's probably going to be more postponements because there's a new variant called the Omicron variant. And it's so far already spread from Africa and is now in Europe as well. Which means it's probably going to be here too because we know how things go with Europe. Whatever reaches Europe reaches the world. Whatever reaches North America reaches the world. Whatever reaches Asia reaches the world. There's like 3 power continents that could spread easily to the rest of the continent within weeks. Or maybe even days. So brace yourselves, we could have a 4th dose. As I believe the Pfizer companies are working on seeing if their vaccine's effective against the new variant. I don't know about any of the other 3 factions. Like, the other 2 are Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson's the only one that doesn't really meet up to par under my standards. The reason why everyone finds it so appealing is because it's 1 dose. However, it's only a 60% chance that you're not going to that of deflection. So, yeah, that's why I chose to not get that one. I couldn't get that one at the time, anyways, because I was under 18. Now technically I could get any one, but I'm a Pfizer fan, so I'm going to stick with that. All right, moving on to the next league. European soccer leagues. Starting with the English Premier League. Who's number 1? Looks like Chelsea is still number 1. Let me see if there's any eliminated teams from... There's not. So yeah, look at that. Our 4, we have
some playtime with
we have our 4 qualifiers for the Champions League. Chelsea, Manchester City, Liverpool, and West Hamilton. And I believe Manchester City did beat Western Hamilton today, though. So that could change for West Ham. And for the Europa League, it's Arsenal. And believe it or not, I can actually pull up Believe it or not, I can also pull up the Premier League. Oh, look at that. Another postponed game. Burnley versus Tottenham Hotspur. What the frick was that? Oh, it's halftime from them. So this week, here's what happened. Manchester City beats Everton. Is that what that is? Yeah, Everton. I'm starting to recognize some of these abbreviations now. And then Tottenham beats Leeds United as well. Moving on to the 27th, Arsenal beats, what is that? Newcastle? Yeah, Newcastle United. Then on right here, Crystal Palace lost to, who is that? Aston Villa. Liverpool beats Southampton. I don't remember all of them. Wolves and Norwich City tie. And then Leeds United ties with Brighton and Hove Albion. And then today, well, Chelsea tied with Manchester United. Manchester City beat, like I said earlier, West Hamilton. Leicester City beat Watford. And what is this team? Brentford beat Everton. Now, there's also standings for the Champions League as well, but I'm not going to go into detail like I do with the Premier League because the Premier League is the top dogs. But here's the standings for that. Pay attention to the top two teams as you might see them in the Premier League next year. Which would include Fulham, AFC Bournemouth. And then there's going to be a tournament between West Bromwich Albion, Blackburn Rovers, Coventry City, and Queen's Park Rangers to determine which of those also move to the Premier League in replacement of the 3 teams that are about to get relegated out of the Premier League. However, there's still going to be 3 teams that are going to get kicked out of this league as well and move down to League One. Yes, League One is also on here. And it looks like Rotherham United and Wigan Athletic is going to move to the Champions League, and one of those 4 in a lighter green could move up there as well. Relegation, 4 teams actually get kicked out of this league at the end of this season. And then they would move on to, and those 4 teams would end up in League 2, which is basically Division 4 for English soccer. Forest Green Rovers, Northampton Town, and Exeter City look like they're going to move on to England League 1. And the bottom 2 teams will actually get sent to the North and South leagues of soccer, as Division 5 has actually got multiple leagues in it. It's got 2 of them in there. Anything Division 5 or lower is going to have more leagues. I think it goes down all the way to 10 in English soccer. 10's got a heck ton of leagues from different regions of the entire world. So basically what that does is it makes it possible, if you create a team, like for some reason you want to create a soccer team, you could build your team up from the ground up. You could have them be from Division 10, as that's where they probably would start. I'm not sure if there's more divisions or not. And if you're lucky enough, you can have them go all the way up to Division 1, which is the Premier League. Same goes to the rest of the countries that also have this system as well, as they can do the same thing. As I'm pretty sure each city has a soccer team. And oh yeah, I believe that some of the leagues are eligible for Champions League as well. Moving on to League number 2 of European soccer, the Spanish Premier League. let's see. Let's see the standings. Single star means they can go to the Champions League and go to the Champions and win. So, first place wins the entire league and qualifies for the Champions League. Second, third, and fourth qualifies for the Champions League. Fifth, the Europa League, and sixth, a playoff to get into the Europa League. Let's see. Here we are. Looks like Real Madrid is still in the lead, and it looks like they're always going to be in the lead. Any eliminated teams? No. I don't recognize these teams as much. So, yeah. Let's go take a look at their games, as I have that league as well. That is down here. So here is some of the games that's happened. I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce these. And just heads up, Oceania now also has the Omicron variant. So that is 3 of 6 major major confederation areas that have the new variant. So there's now 3 that I have not heard has had it yet, which is Asia, North America, and South America. All right, 4th league, the German Premier League, also known as Bundesliga. Bayern Munich still number 1. Look at that. That is the highest chance I've seen yet to get relegated. 99%. They're about to get kicked out of this league real quick. What week is it? 17 of 40. It's not even been half of the season yet, and they already have 99. Moving down to Series A, Napoli number 1, and League 1, Paris SG is number 1. For some reason, Paris SG is always featured on Brawl Stars, but yet they don't feature teams like Chelsea, Napoli, Bayern Munich, or even Real Madrid, which is way more popular in the United States than Paris FG or SG. Makes no sense. If you're going to have one soccer team be featured in a game, might as well just have the skin get customizable to have them all. Just like FIFA does. Moving on to what I love to talk about is the World Cup qualification. So, yeah, we're going to start with the AFC, which is Asia. Iran is looking to get in. So let me see how this works. Top 2 clinch the World Cup, and number 3 gets to go to an advancement playoff against another confederation team. So it looks like Iran, South Korea, and United Arabian Emirates could possibly be your people in the World Cup from Asia. From Group A. From Group B, you have Saudi Arabia, Japan, and Australia. This confederation may be totally screwed because, again, COVID has been, of course it's been reported. The Omicron variant has been reported in the Oceania, and which country do I mean? I mean Australia. And that is this one right here. So expect some games to get postponed if you are playing Australia or you play in a league that is in Australia. Some of your leagues may even be canceled because the last time I heard from this country is that they were in lockdown to the point where the government gave them food because they were basically in martial law-ish kind of thing. So I'm super glad I don't live there. Because a lot of people there describe it as a jail cell. Except basically everyone would be in jail. Not a happy, pleasant time in Australia. Moving on to Africa. I mean, yeah, this is Africa. Algeria looks like they're going to win. The only way this spot could be snatched is if Algeria wins, and Burkina Faso wins as well. In this conference, it looks like it's Tunisia, it looks like they're going to take it. Nigeria, Group D, Ivory Coast, Group E, Mali has clinched the World Cup. Group F, Egypt has clinched the World Cup. Group G, Ghana has clinched the World Cup. Group H, Senegal clinched the World Cup. Group I, Monaco has clinched the World Cup. And Group J, Congo DR has clinched the World Cup. So I believe it's only Groups A, B, C, and D that has not gotten a World Cup member yet. Everyone else has one. I didn't mean to click that. Moving on to North America, which is where ours is at. Standings are right now, Canada has taken the lead. Still from last time. As the standings stay the same from last week. Let's move to week 60 in South America. Week 60. That means this one lasts over a year. And it looks like Brazil and Argentina are going to the World Cup. Well, actually, no. Brazil's the only team that clinched the World Cup. Argentina's clinched the play-in tournament in case if they don't make it in. So, yeah. Congratulations, Brazilians. You're back in the World Cup. Hopefully by then we would have this whole COVID situation down. Moving on to the last conference, Europe. which is probably going to be another... Oh, if you live in Belgium, I think that's one of the countries that also is gotten or Omicron. So yeah, Group A, I believe UEFA is the first official continent to be done with their qualification process. So everyone's who's made it into the World Cup is getting in. So here's who we got: Serbia clinching the playoffs. And Portugal playing in the play-in tournament. I think the main reason why it's built like this is because some of the divisions have 6 teams, while others have 5. Group B, Spain's going to the World Cup, Sweden's going to the play-in round. Group C, Switzerland's going to the World Cup, Italy is going into the play-in round. I've never seen one of the Big 5 members go to the play-in round, which is basically stage 3.5, which is basically the round that determines if you go to round 4, which is known as the World Cup itself. I think we did this one, yeah. Group D. France is going to the World Cup. Ukraine's going into the play-in tournament. Group E. Belgium's going to the World Cup. Wales is going to the play-in tournament. As again, be careful if you're in Belgium, especially you European people of Wales, Czech Republic, Estonia, and Belarus. Omicron could be in your area pretty soon, because if a player gets it, they can transmit it to those countries easily, and it will become a nightmare for all 5 of those. How strong the Omicron variant is, I don't know. I haven't heard about its lethality. I've only heard about its contagiousy. All right, Group F. Denmark's going to the World Cup. Scotland is going to the play-in round. Moving to Group G. The Netherlands is going to the World Cup. Turkey is going into the play-in round.
What's the play-in round?
The play-in round is basically a round where 4 teams. It's an advancement to a 4-team playoff against other second-place finishers of the UEFA, which would then determine a couple of them would get to the World Cup. I think last one did Group G, right? Yeah. Group H. Croatia is in the World Cup. Russia's going to the play-in round. Group A. England's going to the World Cup. Poland is going to the play-in round.
Of course England's going to go to
I mean, of course England's going to the World Cup. They freaking have the best soccer players in the world, even though they lost to Italy in the Euro finals. Because of 3 consecutive missed kicks. When will you cover the leagues in Discord? I will get there soon. I'm still working on the World Cup right now. Did I just do Group I? Yes. Which means next up is Group J. Germany's going to the World Cup. North Macedonia is going to the play-in round. Dang, I never seen Iceland get eliminated. Last time the World Cup took place, France was the winner of that. We'll see if that continues for another straight season of the World Cup. As France is in the World Cup, they did clinch. But I doubt they're going to win it all this season. All right, moving on to the U8 to the Champions League. We'll start with Group A. So Manchester City and Paris SG are going to the bracket stage of the Champions League. So say congratulations to Blinks because he likes both Manchesters. Group B, Liverpool is going to the bracket stage as well. Group C, Ajax and Sporting CPs going to the bracket stage. Group D, no one's clinched yet, but Real Madrid and Inter Milan's going. Let me check Group B once more. Okay, FC Porto didn't clinch. Group E, Bayern Munich is going to the bracket stage. Group F, Manchester United is going to the bracket stage. Group G, nobody yet, because this division is competitive. Group H, Chelsea and Juventus is going to the bracket stage as well. So that's it for the for here. Now we're gonna check on the Discord leagues. Starting with the Dice Football League. First, I'm going to clear these pins. Not pins, pings. So, right now it is the playoffs in the Extreme Access Football League. And we have currently finished the first round. The first round was filled with upsets. As here's a recap. The Buffalo Grizzlies beat the Nebraska Thunder to get to the and Buffalo is going to go to the second round of the playoffs because of that. The Las Vegas Outlaws beat the Houston Bombers to get to the second round as well. And the Louisiana Gators beat the Los Angeles Tide to get to the second round. The Orlando Rockets beat the Dallas Lawmen, which is going to change to the Dallas Stampede once we get to Access 21. Because they still play under Access 17 right now. They're supposed to do 19 next season. I hope it's probably going to work well for me because it didn't work well for me previously. Next, the Atlanta Razorbacks beat the Green Bay Axemen, and what they call Cincinnati Mid-Cincinnati, which is what I explained earlier. Mid-Cincinnati defeats the Seattle Bruins, and just a heads up, Not a single home team has won during the playoffs this season. Yet. Yep, fun fact, every away team won. No home teams won. So the second round looks like this. The 7th seed Buffalo Grizzlies will take on the 1st seed Pittsburgh Ironhawks in the second round, along with the Cincinnati Royals taking on the 6th seed Cincinnati Royals taking on the 5th seed Las Vegas Outlaws. And then in the NFC, we have the 7th seed Atlanta Boars taking on the 1st seed Carolina Rebels, which is going to also change their team name once we reach Axis 21. They're going to change to the Rattlers. And then you got the 6th seed Orlando Rockets taking on the 5th seed Louisiana Gators. So yeah, that's the schedule for the XAFL divisional round. We're down from they started the season with 32 teams, now we're down to 8. This season was shortened because the league was AFK for a while now. But now there's actually things to talk about because they continued again. Next league we're going to talk about is the Ultimate Access Football League, which is going to get started in January. And yeah, that's his predictions. So the Ultimate Access Football League is basically double the XAFL because there's twice as many teams. There's the original teams that are in the league, as well as teams from across the entire world. And what I'm talking about, I'm just going to show you an image of it. I'm not going to post it, but this is the full list of all the teams. The teams that have flags on it are teams that do not have logos yet. Just look how many there are. You can recognize some of them from Access Football because they're the default ones. We're going to keep them in the league. And then you got teams that are new, like the ones with the flags. So yeah, that's the UAFL 2021 season. And we're going to explain how this league works. So here we have 64 teams that battle it out in the Ultimate Access Football League, and each month we play a different division for the first 8 months of the season. Each division has 8 teams in it, and the divisions are as follows. You got the Atlantic Division, which is mainly all teams from the United States that are near the Atlantic Ocean. The Polar Division, which is the more northern teams. You got the Tropical Divisions, which are the southern teams near the southern border. The Pacific Division, which is the teams near the west, and the Pacific Ocean. The Arctic Division is actually is a division with 7 Canadian teams and 1 Mexican team in it. The Western Division is other teams from North America and South America. The Central Division is Europe and Africa. And the Eastern Division is Asia and the Oceania. In the regular season, each team plays their division rivals one time each for a total of 7 games. The playoffs, the top 4 teams in each division advance to the playoffs. The dead last team of each division advances to a demotion playoff against a team that's in the waiting list. Each division's got a waiting list. Each division is split up into 2 groups. So depending on which group gets nominated will be the one that competes. Well, actually, no. I don't want to do that. We'll just have them all compete. So yeah, don't be the one team that gets 8th place in your division, because if you lose to the whoever's the championship of the other division, will ultimately cost them from playing into the next season. So don't be that team. But for the top 4, they will advance to a 32-team playoff, kind of like the March Madness kind of style, except with a twist. Each round is different in its own way. The first round has 32 teams, and, well, it's as normal, best of 1. However, once we reach the second round, we're down to 16 teams. But every team will play at least 2 games against each other because it's a best of 3 series, and at most 3 games. In the third round, there will be 8 teams, and you will have to play each other anywhere from 3 to 5 times to determine who wins that, because it's best of 5. The fourth round, there's 4 teams each, but they would play each other at anywhere from 4 to 7 times because it's a best of 7 series. And then in the fifth round, which is the longest series in the world, and that is the there will be 2 teams, and they will play anywhere from 5 to 9 games against each other to determine who wins the whole championship. So it's going to be a wild one in the playoffs. Now I'm going to show you guys the season preview of the UAFL live on the on air, as I did make a trailer for it.
Introducing.
I'm going to pause it so I can explain a little bit.
The Ultimate Axis Football League. $60 for teams.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier. Yep, here's the full thing. You can screenshot it if you want. This is the full list of all the teams that is in the league. Look at how much there is. It's incredible. My team is the Baltimore Platinums. We play in the Polar Division. I'm just going to let y'all know that. This video also explains which divisions are which.
Eight divisions.
And here are the 8 divisions. You got the Atlantic Division, Polar Division, Tropical, Pacific, Arctic, Western, Central, and Eastern. As each division does have a logo, and here they are. And not gonna lie, they're actually turned out pretty good. Especially the Polar and Arctic divisions.
Atlantic Division.
Here are the Atlantic Division teams. You have the Dallas Stampede, Boston Whalers, Miami Warriors, Washington Senators, Buffalo Grizzlies, New York Barons, St. Louis Racers, and the Philadelphia Express.
Polar Division.
In the Polar Division, we have the Pittsburgh Temper, Baltimore Platinums, Cincinnati Royals, Minnesota Pride, Chicago Lakehawks, Cleveland Coyotes, Detroit Firebirds, and the Green Bay Axemen.
Tropical Division.
In the Tropical Division, we have the Indianapolis Gladiators, the Louisiana Gators, Orlando Rockets, the Oklahoma City Cyclones, Tennessee Bloodhounds, Atlanta Boars, nope, that's what I used to call them, Atlanta Razorbacks, the Houston Bombers, and the Carolina Rattlers.
Pacific Division.
Pacific Division includes the Nebraska Lightning, Las Vegas Outlaws, San Francisco Sharks, Arizona Heat, Seattle Bruins, Colorado, the Denver Mountaineers, Kansas City Wranglers, and the Los Angeles Tide. Great.
Arctic Division.
In the Arctic Division, we have the Vancouver Mallards, the Mexico City Jaguars, Montreal Terrapins, and including the Winnipeg Devil Cats as well. And we also have 4 other Canadian cities: Edmonton, Calgary, Toronto, and Ottawa.
Western Division.
And here, of course, are the Western Division nations. I'm pretty sure you could recognize some of them. I forgot some of them, honestly, but I'll remember once they start playing in the league. I have a feeling Argentina and Brazil are going to be the 2 biggest rivals in this division, as they are rivals in FIFA right now.
Central Division.
And in the Central Division, you got more nations you kind of recognize, like Nigeria, Egypt, Ethiopia is huge. Esports next. Yeah, I think so. You have the United Kingdom, you got Russia, France, Germany. There's also other countries like Italy and Spain, but they're on the waiting list. They have to compete in the they have to compete in the relegation tournament against whoever loses this division.
Eastern Division.
And in the Eastern Division, you got these teams. There's New Zealand, Australia, Pakistan, China, Indonesia, India, and 2 other countries I forgot the names of. I think New Guyana is one of them, too. And yes, Japan is also on the waiting list. The teams I put on the waiting list is because during the first season is because they are 5th to 8th most popular in the continent. I put the top 4 teams of the continent in the first 4 spots. So yeah.
Games per month. January,
And then you, of course, got the schedules for all of them as well. But we're going to speed through this part
February.
because y'all can check the schedules out on Discord.
March,
As
April,
each month is a different division.
May,
So for me, we play in February. For some people, for Shig, he plays in January. For some people, like Deluxe and Real, they play in April. For Blinks, I believe, because he's in the his team is in London, I think. They would play in July. So that would be later than most of the other divisions.
June, July, August,
And any viewers from Malaysia would start in because I know there's some viewers from this channel that are from Malaysia. Their teams would start in August in the final division that we would go over, and then after that is the playoffs.
round playoff,
And there's also a Discord community for it as well. It's linked in this video as well as in my main profile as well. So yeah, we're going to the huge esports league now. There are there's not been a letter trade. But here's the teams list. There's so far 17 teams. We're still going to come up with more teams. As right now there is your Uruguay D and Balls, Maryland Cobalt, Peru Child P, California Violet Jays, Kazakhstan G Beaters, UK Buffy Nuggets, England Potos Zam, Texas Zam, She's 12, UK Delaware Fans, Somalia White Liquid Bros, Portugal Suzzeek.exe, the Basement Beavers, the Hairy Beavers is what they call themselves for some reason, the Nigeria Big Buffman, Delmarva Huge Odin 1, Florida No Gravity, Texas Blinks, and Odin's House, I'm Under Your Bed. As you can tell, I don't make up all the team names. The teams that are created are some of the. I only created 2 of the teams. The other 15 teams were created by 4 other people. With Buff Nugget creating 1 team, Zen creating 1. I think maybe 1 or 2 teams. It was 2 teams. You had Blinks create 4 teams, and Golden Thunder create 8 teams. So now we're going to look at the divisions. I put them in division by person. Golden's probably going to fill up, so I'm going to actually have to put some of his teams in other people's divisions because there's physically not enough space in his division anymore. But again, here is my division and Blinks' division. See, this league has 6 stages in this season. And they're all kind of group staged. And each round about, or maybe a little bit less or more than 50% of the teams are eliminated as they keep going down time to time. Like in the first round, we start out with 5 divisions of 10. Speaking of which, I have to change this abbreviation. The reason I had to change the abbreviation is because there's a second Texas team. As Texas now has 2 teams, I would think that one is featured in Dallas, the other in Houston. For the England teams, it's kind of the same situation. One's featured in London, the other's featured in Manchester. So, yeah, Division 3's got the most teams. They have 8. If you think the OH stands for Ohio, no, it stands for Odin's House. Because that is the Odin's House, I'm in Your Bed. Which is the weirdest team name I've seen. Which doesn't even represent a group of people. It's kind of strange. Their logo is the Booger Monster, so. Moving down to Division 4. There's still one team left in this division. Because it has the fewest amount of people, if Golden's division fills up, the next team he would create would end up in Buffy's division. And then Division 5 is Zen. He has 2 teams. And those teams are the UK Dilworth fans and the Florida No Gravity. If that one's from the UK. And that one's from England, yeah. They're basically kind of the same thing, I guess. I've been pinged twice. Let me check on that. Where's the second ping? So yeah, after stage 1, the top 5 in each division move to stage 2, which looks like this. 5 divisions of 5. So it's basically the same number of divisions, just with less teams. And the teams will be moved to throughout different divisions, depending on their position on how well they played. Division leaders will obviously keep their will obviously be for the best in their division when it comes to chances, because the first 5 seeds would be division owners, basically, kind of. But ultimately, there's going to be a mix of teams from different people throughout in the leagues. Of all 5, I believe. But then we get in, after the second stage, the 2 teams from each division and the top 2 third place teams will move on to stage 3. Wrong stage. Which looks like this. There's 2 less divisions. It is 3 divisions of 4. 12 teams remain. And it will be in a crazy event. This will happen. This will happen in the months of May and June. And then in stage 4, the top 2 teams from each division will move to stage 4. There will be 2 divisions of 2 divisions of 3. And then the 2 division winners and the best second place team will move on to stage 5. which is when we get to 3 teams. Okay, I think that's over now. The top 2 teams once this stage concludes, the first and second place team will then move on to the final stage, which is stage 6, and then the winner of this will be determined to be the 2022 esports champion. Now, in between each round, because letters get eliminated, but we don't want to remove those people from the contest, because the more letters that we remove, the more likelihood we would have dud games. I don't want dud games. So in between each of the rounds, so there would be about 5 of these, there will be a letter draft. After stage 1 concludes would be the first one. The teams that are eliminated would lose their letters, and they would be up for grabs by the remaining 25 teams. Keep in note, YZ is still going to remain together as one throughout that process. And basically, the draft works like this. Whoever gets 25th place will have first round pick. And then 24th would go, then 23rd, 22nd, 21st, and so on. So if your team is number 1 in the league, you will be picking last. This draft will take place on the final day of February, which is February 28th. Which is also the same day as the final day of the UAFL Polar Division. So every 2 months we move to a different stage of the game. Now the number of rounds is dependent on the number of teams. Well, the number of rounds for each draft depends on the stage. After stage 1 ends, there will be a 1-round draft. In stage 2, however, because a total of about a bunch of teams get eliminated, we would probably have 2 rounds. Where, so therefore you would pick 2 letters in a course of 2 drafts. Well, 2 draft rounds. After the 3rd stage ends, the remaining teams would be picking 4 letters that get moved to the discard pile. And then 8, 16, and then so on and more. Well, it's different each round. So basically, you could potentially have you can build up an army of letters once you get to the postseason. But for now, everyone gets 1. Or 2 if you have YZ. But again, those 2 are the least popular. That's why they're together. So yeah, that is basically it for huge sports. If you guys enjoyed.